Hello everyone and welcome back to Kentucky Garden Gal. This is Nancy coming to you from my home in Kentucky. I'm a Zone 7B and today we want to talk about watering. Can you believe that is the most commonly asked question for gardening? How do I water? When do I water? How much do I water? So today we're going to take just a little while and we're going to discuss just some basics in watering. So the first plant that we're going to look at is a balloon flower. And the reason I'm starting with this plant is because when I came out this morning and checked my garden, the first thing I noticed is this plant is wilted. What do you think it needs? It needs a drink of water. So if your plant is not standing up, and once we get it watered, we'll see the difference. But wilting is the first thing that you're going to notice with a plant that needs to be watered. So let's give this plant a drink of water. Now, the sun is out. So when I water, I'm actually going to put my water stream close to the plant. If it's a hot day and the sun is out bright, if you water the leaves of your plant, the sun can actually act as a magnifier and can do damage to your leaves. So you want to get the water right down to the roots of this plant, just like I'm doing here. We'll give it a good soak, and then we'll come back in just a little while, and we'll check on it and see what it looks like. So another question that people often ask is, what kind of watering system do you have? Well, this is a historic house. I actually have one outside spigot, and I have a lot of flowers that need to be watered. So I haven't put in drip irrigation, and at present I am using one of these systems that go on a spigot, and it has 4 links. So with the handle up, I know that my water is on, and I do not leave my water on unattended. So if I go in the house or I leave, I do turn my water off. But during the day, when I'm out watering, doing projects, I will usually leave my water on. And as you see, I can hook up to 4 hoses. I think I have a 100-foot hose and two 50-foot hoses connected now, going in different directions, but it won't be long until I'll be dragging out some more hose. And I do have a soaker hose that I use, so different hoses go to different areas, and this is how I water with my spigot. After a good soak, you can see how much better this plant looks. It's no longer leaning over. It had wilted. It just needed to be watered. Another way that I water is by using a rain barrel. And I actually have 3 types of rain barrels. This one I bought from a neighbor. She custom painted it for me. And it has the little spigot there at the bottom. I have it up on some bricks to give it some gravity. But what I use this watering container for, I collect the water that comes off of the roof. So I collect rainwater. I have a soaker hose here with a little end, and I will just run this over to my newly planted zinnias and get them started. I'll just give them a good drink of water, and it's more importantly, you need to water deeply. When you're watering, you need to give your plants a really good soaking. They will do better if you give them one good soaking every 3 days versus a little bit every day. It's just healthier for your plant. Now let's talk about a perennial. a perennial plant such as these irises, they are going to need less water once they are established, and it takes a perennial 3 years to get good and established. But once your perennials are established, you aren't going to have to water them as much. And also, you will hear people talk about natives. So when you plant something that is native to your area, one of the great things is that it's going to require less water, and it's going to be a food source for the birds and the butterflies and the bees in your area. You'll notice I do quite a bit of container gardening. And when you are using a container, your water needs basically are going to be based on the size of your container. So as you see, this is a taller container than this container here. So which do you think would need to be watered more frequently? It's going to be this one because it's going to hold less water. And I just have to give y'all a shot of these foxglove every single chance I get. You know how proud I am of these, and I counted this morning. I have 12. I have 12 foxglove. I'm so excited. So let's go over and look at some smaller containers. So we're here at a back area, and this is something that I potted up this year. And when I do my small pots like this, and that flower's not looking good at all, I always put a saucer underneath it because you want to be able to collect your water. Your plant is going to stay more hydrated, and also you're not going to ruin the surface that your container is on. So if you'll put some type of saucer to catch the water under your container, you're going to be better off. And you know, you can buy saucers. For some of my seedlings, I just bought plastic plates. It's just something to set them in to collect water. I sometimes at garage sales will find different things, but just so you have a way to put a saucer under your container, that's very important. Now, you have to also look at temperatures. When it is hotter than 85 degrees, you really need to pay special attention to your plants because that's the temperature that they really start to suffer just a little bit. So a container like this, now it's in the shade, so I may not have to, but some of my containers back on my deck, I may water them twice a day when the temperature is higher than 85. Also, if the wind is blowing, the wind will take the moisture, you know, out of the ground, out of the container. So if it's a windy day, you may notice that you have to water more. But I do have to show you this rose. I was gone from home for several days and came back, and it's obviously not in its prime, but this rose is huge. And I don't remember the name of it. I don't have my tag, so I wish I did, but I'm sure that probably a couple of days ago it was absolutely gorgeous. I just came on to my back deck to check my plants, and when I walked up to this plant, the first thing that I noticed is that the soil looks what? It looks dry. So does this plant need a drink? Yeah, it does. So if you're, and it's got not to the point like the balloon flower where it's actually starting to wilt, but you can just tell that this soil is dry here. So dry soil is another sign that you need to water your plant. Let's talk about our house plants for just a minute. I don't have a lot of house plants, but the ones that I do have here, it's Christmas cactus and plumeria. And I actually bought this plumeria when I was in Hawaii, and it looks like it's doing well. I don't see any growth, but then I don't see signs that it's dying. So I will continue to water it and watch it and see what happens. But what I have found that works best with my houseplants is to keep them on a schedule. And usually Mondays are my day to water houseplants. That's just something that I do. That way I don't forget. And just like your containers outside, you can look at them, you can feel of them, see if they need to be watered. Now, houseplants can be a little bit more fussy, so you always want to make sure that you read your tags of your houseplants, because some plants may say, well, they like to be dry between watering, or they don't like their roots in water, different things like that. So just familiarize yourself with your houseplants, and then like I do, I just pick a day of the week and I water once a week, and that works well for me. Let's talk about orchids for just a minute. I have kept orchids for many years. Some I have success with, some I have not. This particular plant that you see that is in bloom, it was actually a rescue plant. I think I got it for $5 at a big box store. And I am in different orchid groups on Facebook, and I do read what people say and their suggestions. And like I've mentioned many times before, I garden with trial and error. For me, I just have to figure out what works best. Currently, this is how I am getting my orchids to do well and to bloom. I actually have a south-facing window upstairs. I take the orchid out of the cup that it came in so that the roots get sunlight. Now, when I pick this up, this is very light, and I can also tell by looking at the roots that this orchid needs to be watered. So what I will do, I generally water my orchids once a week, 1 week regular water, and then the next week a week fertilizer, such as Miracle Grow, just a little. So weekly WEEKLY, and weekly on the fertilizer WEALKY. Hope that helps for your orchids and you get some blooms. A gardening hack for your hanging basket are these plastic drip trays. I'll try to get down there so you can see it. It attaches to your basket with 4 hooks. This drip tray wasn't the proper size for this hanging basket, which happens to be snapdragons that are just about finished, but I'm going to save them for their seeds. But these little drip trays will collect your water, and it keeps your plant moist, and then it doesn't make a mess wherever you have your hanging plants. Say you have them on your front porch or someplace that maybe you wouldn't want to get wet. Now, I have always used these with ferns, and they have been my secret to having beautiful ferns. In fact, I just keep the drip tray full of water, and I also fertilize with Epsom salt once a week the ferns, and I just mix that in with my watering can, pour it right into the drip tray, and your ferns will do well. These I am able to find locally at the dollar store, but you can look on Amazon and they're not expensive and they're well worth your money. I usually don't get more than 1 season out of them, but it's really something that will help you if you have hanging plants that you just can't seem to keep watered well, or for plants that require a lot of water. Let's talk about these bare root trees for just a minute. If you have been watching my video, you know that these are the trees that the local conservation office we're giving away for free. And I did a video with Michelle, the director, and her recommendation for planting a bare root tree. And notice how these have leafed out. They just look like sticks when I first put them in the water, and now they have leafed out. So I'm probably will wait to the fall and plant these at the farm. I'm not really sure if I do decide to wait until the fall to plant them. I will pot them up in some soil. But getting back to their water needs. So a bare root tree is going to need constant water for the first year to establish its roots. One of the ways that Michelle suggested we do this is to take a 5-gallon bucket such as this, put a hole in it about right there, then you set it next to the tree and you aim that hole at your tree, and you pour your water into the 5-gallon bucket, and that will get water down into the roots of the tree where it needs to be. And that's something, you know, if you are planting trees at your home, even fruit trees, anything like that, that needs a good start with watering, that would be a good way to do that. I wanted to share with you my very fancy watering system. 1-gallon jug, 1.5-gallon jug. In the gallon jug, I have warm tap water. Believe it or not, your plants enjoy warm water, not hot, maybe more tepid, but just, I don't run the straight cold water and give them just cold water. I do try to put just a little warmth into the water. And here I have, this is just Miracle-Gro. Generally, what I do when it comes to fertilizer, I buy whatever is on clearance at the end of the year. And honestly, all the years that I have been gardening, I haven't found anything that was just magic as far as fertilizer goes. I just try to do it consistently. So this happens to be Miracle-Gro, and it comes in a granular form. So what I do is I mix up a 1/2 gallon very strong. And once a week, when I am watering, I'll pour just a little bit into my gallon jug. Give it a good shake. Now, I am ready to fertilize my plants. And I'm only going to give this just a little drink because it has fertilizer. If you'll look, I have some yellowing leaves, and that is actually a sign of overwatering. So I'm just going to give it a drink enough just to get some of the fertilizer. This happens to be a palm plant. It happens to have a geranium in it, excuse me. And any flower that is pushing a lot of blooms, they're generally gonna need to be fed, and by that I mean fertilized. So just sort of watch your plants, and if you have something that has a lot of blooms on it, make sure that you fertilize it at least once a week. Now, can you over fertilize? Yes, you can. So you want to follow the instructions carefully on whatever fertilizer you choose to use. As we conclude this video on watering, I have 3 more tips to give you, and we will check out the beautiful blooms on the peony. One thing that I did want to mention, the best time to water is early in the morning. If you water late at night after dark and you do it often, you could have some issues with mold. There is an instrument that you can use to measure the moisture in your soil. If you are not sure, you can grab that off of Amazon. I'll put a link on, or I'll put a picture of it. And there's several one. I just picked the one that it was very reasonable and I thought it would work fine. And also, you may want to consider getting a rain gauge if you're not sure. of how much rainfall you're getting. So, and I'll also put a link up to that. I want to tell everyone that I appreciate you being here, for you following my YouTube channel. I'm just thrilled at the gardening community that we are growing together. I wanted to mention that I do have a Facebook page, and I do try to post on that daily. Things that maybe I'm doing or things that I see that I think you all might enjoy. And in the comment section, I will put a link to my Facebook page. So if you don't care, jump over and give my Facebook page a follow if you're on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching and being part of my gardening community. And I will see you all in the next vlog.